Hello guys, Brad here again, and today I thought I would just do sort of a response video to a rant that was on basenotes the other day. Somebody went off on the YouTube fragrance community again, and they had 8 specific things that they hated about YouTube reviewers. So I thought I would take a look at each one of these attacks individually and give my response to them. From my own perspective. So let's get started. Number 1, stop head-to-head fragrance comparisons. Apparently, the guy was saying, if you're a girl, you're not going to smell one fragrance and then follow that guy around and then smell something better on another guy and then start following him around. So it's kind of stupid to do these comparisons. But I think they can be helpful in the right perspective. Like, for example, a lot of fragrances smell nearly identical, with the main difference being price point. So the question is fragrance A worth the extra dollars if it smells very similar to fragrance B? Will the average girl be able to tell the difference between a $50 fragrance and a $150 fragrance? Or maybe will she think the $50 fragrance smells even better than the $150 fragrance? I think a great example of this is Rokas Man versus New Harlem. I think that's a perfect example of a good head-to-head video because in my experience, my wife and my stepdaughter both seem to prefer Rokas Man to New Harlem. So I think head-to-head videos can be helpful in the right context. Now, if you're comparing apples and oranges, if you're saying, well, let's take something very fruity, like a citrus fragrance, and then compare that with something very woody and say, which one do you like better? Well, of course, the woman's going to gravitate towards the category that she prefers, so that's probably not as helpful. So I think head-to-heads in the right context can be very helpful. Number 2, stop reviewing CH Men. I've never even smelled CH Men, but I do see some people talking about it, maybe not even any more or less than any other fragrance, so I don't really see the big problem there. If it's something that people seem to like, it gets you good compliments, by all means, I think you should be talking about it. Just because 5 or 6 other reviewers have discussed it already, I don't think you should retire it and say, okay, no more talk about this fragrance, no more talk about Aventus, because that's been overdone or whatever. We have to move on to something else. I think every channel has the right to review what they want to review. If you've smelled it and tested it out, I encourage you to review it, even if it's already been so-called done to death. Number 3, stop jumping on just released fragrances. It just seems like common sense to me that if a new fragrance comes out and you have the opportunity to sample it or buy a bottle and review it, you should be doing so. I mean, when you buy a copy of Entertainment Weekly or Rolling Stone magazine, they don't talk about stuff that came out 20 years ago. So why should YouTube reviewers gravitate towards the older fragrances? I mean, I just review whatever I have, whatever seems good. I'll try, review it, give my take. The reason I don't generally do a lot of the newer releases is because they're more expensive and harder to get my hands on, and samples sometimes are hard to get a hold of too. So I commend all the reviewers that are staying on top of the current trends by reviewing the new stuff. And I don't think it necessarily has to be a competition of who can be the first to review the new one by Hugo Boss, even if it's a winter fragrance and it's the summer, if it's been released, well, it's there for you to check out. So go ahead and check it out and do your best to give a good impression of it. Number 4, we had stop trying to start the next big hype. I don't think there's anything wrong with a hype train as long as it's genuine. Some people seem to hype everything they smell, and I think that can be a problem. But if you certainly smell something that's really good in your opinion, gets you good feedback, compliments, by all means, give it some extra attention. I don't see a problem there. Number 5, why do you show it your 2 ml sample vials when you don't have a bottle? I guess the guy was trying to say, what, we don't think you're honest. We think you're just making up the fact that you've smelled a sample. Well, you know what? I'm proud of my samples. I've paid good money for my samples. This may have cost me $5, $5 for a 2 ml, that's 2.5 $2 an ml, you better believe I'm gonna show that thing off. You know, that's like Tom Ford pricing right there. So yeah, here's my 2 ml sample, and I love this baby. This is my my samples are the bread and butter of my collection. Even though I have a lot of bottles, I grab for my samples all the time because I guess I can throw away my samples quicker, and it just gives me a sense of satisfaction being able to throw away something so I can buy something new to replace it. I keep buying bottles, and I use a couple mLs of my bottle. It's still there, and then I buy more bottles, and they just keep piling up and getting dusty. And that's frustrating, but I always like to grab for my samples whenever possible to get them used up and out of the way. Number 6, repeating Fragrantica does not constitute a review. I do think before we do a review, you should research it, figure out what the notes are, what type of fragrance it is, when it was released, possibly mention who the perfumer is. Certainly you don't want to read it verbatim and say, okay, that's the review. That's not a review, but it is information that can basically tie into your review. So I think you should basically give a little background on the fragrance before you delve into your review. So I don't have a problem with that. Of course, always have an opinion. Some people don't believe in giving a grade to a fragrance, but at least let us know if you liked it or not. Number 7, we want more chick opinions. Well, yeah, who doesn't? I mean, I can even get my wife to give me a little feedback on a fragrance sometimes. If I had 5 girls sitting around, you think I'd be talking about fragrances? No, we'd be at the grotto, getting back rubs, So yeah, I mean, chick opinions are great, but we're not, going to give you something that we don't have. Some people, think that YouTube viewers are losers and don't have girlfriends or whatever. Well, I'm married and I have a kid and stuff, so I think I'm doing all right. But I don't have 5 chicks, hanging around. Number 8, is there a YouTube template making block letter titles with exclamation points? Everybody looks the same now. When I do a video and go to put it on YouTube, I got 3 thumbnails. And I pick the one where my eyes aren't closed. It's that simple. I don't know what everybody else is doing, but that's what I do, okay? So that's that. That's my thoughts on the latest rant on basenotes about YouTubers. Hope you enjoyed it. That's a wrap. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.